Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This week's show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Magicians. Another great episode. I love that they kind of did another musical episode, because they had one back in season 2, and I'm really glad that they kind of brought it back. They had little bits here and there. I was like, oh, I guess it's not going to be one. But then, last season they only had like one big musical part of it. This one is like 3 different musical parts kind of slapped together in it. But nevertheless, I love like the entire story, and I kind of brought this up last week when I was talking about, this week's episode was going to have to do with Josh. It took approach I didn't even think about. Essentially, Katie, Alice, and Quentin are back from the underworld, and they begin the quest for the next key, and it takes them into what is basically the little place, the place that they live on in Break Bills. And then it's like, but things are different. There's people partying, there's Josh and there's Todd, and basically in this little place there's magic. Not all magic, just basically party magic. And it's like, if you're not having fun, if you're not living it up, it's like you're a buzzkill. So that type of situation. But I love that basically this revolves all around Josh, because Josh feels ignored, because he's like, because I brought it up too. I was like, oh man, because the last time I was like, oh yeah, because we haven't heard from Josh in a long while, because Victoria had brought up Josh. I was like, yeah, last time we saw him, it was at, and he ends up bringing it up in this episode. I was like, Bacchus's party. I was like, that's the last time we saw Josh. And it's like, when's the last time any of you saw him? It's like, maybe a few weeks ago. He's like, exactly my point. He's like, I've been calling and texting you guys, and he's like, you haven't responded to me. And I thought that was so interesting, because it plays into the aspect that he hasn't been in his story. So it's just like, oh, I guess Josh is just off partying up somewhere else. It's like, no, he's trying to be involved with the story. It's just the main characters are such douchebags. They're not getting back to him. They're so caught up in everything, and Josh is so pissed about it. And then you even have Quentin throwing it. It's like, well, what about the time you literally left us in Fillory back in season 1? It's like, that was different. That was me being a coward. This is just you guys being assholes and ignoring me. It's like, potato, but still, I get where Josh is coming from. It's like, I'm here trying to be a part of the main plot. You're pushing me to side like I'm a side character. Not what he said, but it's so heavily implied, and I loved it. Because I was wondering what that whole situation was about. Todd was there too, because like Todd at one point near the beginning of the whole thing was kind of yawning. I was like, oh my god, like Todd's probably slowly being eaten away by this this spell or whatever. It's like a spell or something, and it's slowly draining his life away or something like that. Turns out to be the case. Actually, Todd in this particular case is actually a demon known as like a Charmizer or whatever. It's kind of like a shapeshifter. Oh, it feeds off your joy and everything. So like this whole world was created just for the sole purposes of it's fit to like fit Josh's personality into being the party animal that he is, and kind of feeding off that joy. Because they had pointed out some things too, because it's like, Todd wasn't acting like Todd. Todd was being like, oh, you should do this and do that, kind of barking out orders, which is like, and being very kind of assertive, which it's not Todd. We literally already dealt with that this season when it was like, oh yeah, he kept Margot's golem just so that it wasn't even for sexual reasons, it's just for like hey, like I want, to pretend like she respects me. Like, Todd's kind of got some low self-esteem, so it's like, oh, from the beginning, should have known something was up. It was just, I think it was just so well executed. Just like, also Katie killing it this episode, finding out that she knows about music. The only reason why she knows about music is because her mom was a stripper, and she even admits my mom was pretty good at it, and a lot of that money went to Katie getting piano lessons. There's even that part where she's kind of putting on a show, the whole ventriloquist spell that she performed. I was like, that was pretty neat, where it's like her shadow behind the screen is dancing while she's off somewhere else. I was almost thinking, because it was like, oh, you have because even Josh was like, oh, is that really your voice? And she looks at him like, really? You want to underestimate? Really? What do you think? And it's like, okay, you got mad skills, but it's just so interesting, because it's like, I was thinking for a second, like, because of the whole ventriloquist spell, I'm thinking like, oh man, she's not going to be able to talk. I was like, oh, never mind, the spell kind of works on its own like that. So I thought that was pretty neat. But also, I love that you learn little bits more and more about Katie, because it's something even Josh kind of brought up. It's like, how many do you guys don't even really know anything about me? You guys really don't care about me. It's fine. It's fine. It's just kind of being very passive aggressive about it. But it's like, honestly, we don't know anything about Josh. Josh has been molded into the story, literally played a bigger role last season. And obviously this season is showing that he's even playing an even bigger role. And I appreciate that. But last season, he showed up to kind of help things. He kind of ran Fillory for a tiny bit last season. So, which Fillory is something I'm going to definitely be getting to soon enough. But, I just like how that all kind of played out. It turns out that this 5th key was a key known as the Unity key, and essentially it seems like it basically connected all 8 people in this quest. I guess it's a situation, because it stopped after like a while, because I guess it feel like it was part of the test, but at the same time I'm thinking like because they solved what they needed to do, because everyone's caught in their own situation. Quentin, Katie and Alice and Josh are stuck in this situation. You have Margot and Elliot and Darius. I'll get to theirs soon enough. Then there's the whole Penny situation, which we find out Penny's working at the library. I was like, well, of course he would be, because like I guess Sylvia turning him in just meant like he wasn't going to get punished. He was just basically going to fill out the role he was supposed to, because he's supposed to sell us, basically he works for the library even after death because of the contract. So it's like, isn't it for like millions of years, some shit like that the contract will last. Nevertheless. So there's that. And then you have Julia's whole situation. But I love the fact is everyone's hearing each other inside their heads like, whoa, I can hear you. It's like, wait, what? We're in our own situation. It's like, no, we got to put our BS aside and sing under pressure. And it was so good. Like I said, I hope they do something like this, like every season, like kind of throwing in like a musical episode. Maybe it's because they were like, last season's was so good that they were like, why don't we have another one and kind of weave it into the story. So, because I was almost thinking that they were going to leave without Josh, because it's like, oh, they got the key. It's like, oh, Quester's exit right here, which I'm like, that's a little too easy. So it's kind of a trap. But I was like, please tell me that some of you were about to consider going, and then someone had to be like, I was hoping that some of them were going to go like, okay, we need to go. And then at least one of them was like, but we need to go back for Josh. It's like, we abandoned him before. We can't. It's like, well, Josh likes it here, but it's still, we can't leave him behind yet again. And what kind of precedence for that set? Plus, also at the same time, Josh was kind of fed up with everything because his special world, he was having fun and everything, and now it just kind of all went ugh, because now he knows that it's all fake and everything, that he's not back in the real world partying it up, having magic and stuff like that. And he proceeded to get the shit beat out of him because of all the fakes and everything, the fake people and stuff. So turns out, interestingly enough, it seems like it's all part of some test by someone. He's like, oh, I wasn't really quite sure you guys had it in you, but and even he's like, oh, even Josh, he's like, I honestly didn't think they'd come back for you. So no telling how long Josh had been in that world, stuck there all that time. So, but the demon was kind of like, okay, on your way. Yes, the test is over, you pass. Yay, you. So I am curious, like, because like the thing I was bringing up earlier was because they kind of settled their own situations, that their situations aren't as dire as they were, because they found unity. I guess that was the main point of the key. Like, because it brought unity to them, they don't need it now. Maybe this only kicks in dire situations of like, you need to come together for this. So it connects all the people that are important to this quest. That includes Josh, because he's number 8 in this quest, which I'm like, yeah, I love that. There's also the element of like Alice. Obviously, Quentin's not all that trusting of Alice. Neither is Katie, just because of the whole situation going down. Because it's like, well, there's a whole library situation, and she's like, really? When Quentin takes, wants the book back from her, she's like, fine. Which is like, even I'm like, I don't trust Alice either, just because the library knows about the keys and everything and presented it. Like, it might be that type of situation where Alice is going to be like, you know what? I'm so content on, my unified magic spell that I'm willing to sacrifice all this. Maybe in her mind it's like, oh, it'll be for the greater good. I get a little bit of magic. To be fair, she doesn't know about. Well, no, I was about to say because the library has magic, but their magic, as we know, is ground up fairies that people snort, to be exact. So the question is, like, I guess that's how they do magic. I guess it's meant to be magic reserves. It's not like, well, we don't like to do this, but we have no choice. So it's probably like, keep this in case. I don't know, maybe it plays into what Alice is trying to do. Maybe they're going to take what Alice does, and maybe when they bring magic back, they take it all for themselves. Maybe they're trying to monopolize it. Maybe that's what that's all about. Especially considering this all dealt with, like, them having this secret, like, humongous battery in the library, which was what Harriet was after in the first place. So maybe that kind of all comes together, which we still don't know about Harriet and Victoria. They're dead, or I'm thinking it's more like they're stuck in that in-between world, like that lane between the mirror worlds. They're kind of stuck in that dark place. I mean, whether it's just purely looks like that or whether it manifests itself as something else, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, like I said, I don't trust Alice. I think she's going to be the one that kind of betray them in the end. I think she's going to kind of pull like a season 1 Julia, where it's like at the last minute, she's going to like betray them. It's like, I don't know. Like I said, everyone's kind of got their reservations about her currently. I even love Josh being like, I guess I missed a few things. It's like, yeah, you did. You've actually missed quite a bit, Josh. Then there's the whole situation with Margot and Elliot. It's like, hey, you're found guilty, but hey, you get to choose what kind of execution you want, and they choose one they think is going to be super slow, but it turns out it's super slow, yes, but it's very painful. It's like going down the internal wall, waterfall. That's not the important thing. The important thing is Tick turns out he's a dick. I was like, that is such a good twist, dude, because he's always been kind of like the loyal servant with anything and everything that they've ever done. I'm like, wow. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, oh, obviously Tick is playing this up for someone else. Like either he knows the fairies are watching or someone else is watching. Which does beg the question, what is the fairies' whole situation in Fillory? Well, considering the fact is that Margot and Elliot are about to be like executed and everything, I guess for the queen, her plans kind of already fell apart, so she doesn't really need Margot and Elliot anymore. I guess she doesn't need to work behind the shadows. It's kind of like, well, I might as well just I don't no longer need you to be my pawns, because now that I'm out in the open and everyone knows everything, it's like, well, I don't need to hide in the shadow. So she's probably off doing her own thing. Because I was wondering, because Tick is like, I was running things before you Earthlings got here. It's like, the throne should be mine. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, Tick has been so fun-loving and everything. It's like, you're a total dick, and I love it. But there was a part of me, I was like, I hope it's an act. Please tell me it's an act, because he's putting it up because he's actually secretly helping. It's like, no, he literally was leaving them there to die. I was like, oh, that's so heartbreaking, dude. But at the same time, once again, still super good. I'm very interested to see like where like Tick's whole story takes him. I did appreciate a little bonding between Elliot and Margot, because it's like, oh, we always kind of get caught up in our BS, never saying what we need to say. And it's like, I love you. And it's like, oh, I love you. You know, it's like, I know, like, even kind of pointing out, because even Elliot's like, maybe Tick was right. I mean, all we've done is like, have we actually did any good for this world? It's like, Margot's like, we did. I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's not our fault. This world was kind of fucked the moment we got here. We just play by the rules that were already set up by this world. It's not our fault the world was the way it is, you know, needing a king from Earth and stuff like that. Like, basically, all of Fillory is blaming them for their predecessors. That includes Martin and just, you know, all Earth children. It's like, really? Which even that kind of brings in the situation. Like, it makes you wonder how far back they've been thinking about this whole Tick situation. Once again, I don't know. I'm sure there's like big differences between this and the book. So I don't know if that storyline even exists, like that whole Tick situation. But it's like the way Tick has always been kind of like, ooh, so caught up in it, so fun. Like, he seems so underwhelmed and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, it makes you wonder, has he been planning this entire time, or did the whole situation with the fairies change his mind? Like I said, he just seemed like he was so like, oh, okay with everything, and it's like, oh no, he's actually just been playing along, waiting for an opportunity for you guys to severely mess up so he can kind of take control against them. Like I said, I am curious to see what that's going to do, especially with the whole like queen of the fairies type of situation. But just before they were about to die, it turns out that the boat can fly. It's like, wait, what? And even Margot's like, oh, so you're a fan of David Bowie? It's like, nope, the boat's a fan of Margot, because it has already taken a liking to Margot, because Margot had that whole conversation with the boat about like that whole situation, and that's the reason why the fairy queen ended up killing all those pirates and everything, because Margot had that heart to heart with the boat. Which, you know, outside of this show, that'd be such a weird conversation. Yeah, having a heart-to-heart to a boat. That's pretty interesting. I wonder, was that the boat's plan the entire time? Because the moment, like, Tick tried to give it orders, it didn't listen. So, like I said, it might have taken a liking to Elliot and Margot, or it might be taking orders from somebody else. Like I said, there's a bigger person at play here. Like, but this whole situation, it makes me wonder, is it like the old gods? In this particular situation, the old gods, like Ember and Umber's type of parents, like God, like someone of that level of like God, you know, the parents to the gods, you know, that type of thing. Maybe because that's something we have yet to even see pop up at all this season, was like the gods. So I'm curious to see, you know, whether that's going to be like a finale type of thing, or something we never see. I mean, at the very least, not in this season. We'll have to wait and see. Then on the flip side of things is Julia's whole situation, where she's talking to Sky, which, you know, obviously Finn still has her reservations about it. So it is kind of interesting that you do have Julia kind of being the voice of reason, being like, we can't, no matter what the situation is, no one deserves to be in this situation. It's so interesting, because like, I feel like she's really kind of, they shaped her into like kind of main tier hero, because I feel like legitimately over the course of the story, she is kind of like I think even when like the original timelines, like with all the different timelines, she was supposed to be like the main heroine of the story. So it's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like they're making her fill out that role even more so, stepping up to the plate. Like, I mean, I guess everything that she's been through has kind of given her a different perspective on things, and especially in this case with Finn and the fairies. It's like, I understand why you hate them, but still they don't deserve this, especially Sky and them, because it's not like they had a part to deal with that. Something interesting that popped up that I thought was kind of interesting that hasn't come up yet, I feel like it might come up, is that Julia was like, okay, you show me with your magic, okay, whatever you can do to get away from Irene. And it's like, oh, you'll come, right? Deal. And the moment she said deal, I was like, I thought that was going to turn into a thing. I mean, well, maybe that was the purpose of it, because I don't remember. Well, she still had the key later on, but was she? She wasn't holding the key when she was talking to Sky, was she? I just thought about that because I was thinking that was going to be something that kind of gets used against her later on. Maybe it is, but maybe that's why she set that whole thing up. Is because once you make a deal, you no longer need the key. Because the whole situation of like you holding the key kind of makes you a little sick too. So I think that's probably what that was, because now I'm sitting here thinking about it. Because I was thinking like, oh man, there's gonna be some huge plot point, and later on, it's like, no, it was for the main purpose of being able to see Sky. But like I said, it still kind of leaves things open. Turns out that they are set up so that, and it's kind of an interesting thing I didn't even think about until Finn pointed out. It's like fairies don't use hand signals like hand signs. I call them hand signals. I just call them hand signals, hand signs, mainly because I'm thinking like that's how I always refer to it in Naruto. But it's like they don't make symbols. They don't use magic with their fingers. They just kind of call upon it. It's like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. That's something I didn't even really think about it. Just ever, I don't think I ever noticed that either. Because that is just kind of like a human thing to do, I guess. Because I don't know if it would necessarily be an Earthling thing. Because I'm sure maybe Florians who can do magic would do the same. I don't know, but it turns out the necklace she's wearing is killing her, because the moment they kind of break that rule, like use their magic, it starts killing her, like bleeding from her eyes and everything. I was like, that sucks. In a very messed up way. That's actually isn't it, that's the same way Katie's mom died too. Like this, whatever spell Marina used to kill her, kind of basically did the exact same thing. I mean, to be fair, like haven't quite a few people died like that in this show? Maybe that's like the go-to way of killing someone with magic. Nevertheless, but then you have Katie, like her eyes glowing, and not Katie, Julia having her eyes glowing, and then she stops, and it's like, whoa, 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 what was that? And I was like, at first I was like, oh, is she drawing like her magic into Sky or something? I was like, is this some kind of trap situation? It's like, no. Even Julia's like, oh, I guess I leveled up. So the like little bit of magic that's inside her is now growing. So now she's able to do magic even without using her hands. Whether it's going to be a permanent thing, whether we'll have to wait and see. But it seemed like that might be like a permanent upgrade if we want to go by video game standards. Kind of a permanent like passive ability, I guess would be kind of like one way to put it in video game terms. Just that she can permanently now do spells without magic. And it also makes you wonder how powerful her magic has become. Because she could do a little bit here and there, but now like freezing someone like that, and not even just freezing it, actually kind of reversing the effects of it, that seems like powerful magic. So I'm curious to see what level her magic's at. Is it at what it was before or not? Ultimately, we will have to wait and see. Like I said, overall, a great episode. Not just because it's just kind of an interesting and fun episode, but it set up and did a lot of interesting things too. Like I said, I was so excited. I'm really glad we got back to the Elliot and Margot situation. That's probably one of the things I'm looking forward to most, finding out like where that's all going to go from here. But now they have 5 keys. We are down to the last 2 keys. And I'm so curious to see how this all plays out going forward. And there's also another thing too we have to think about too. What about Poppy? I mean, to be fair, she's not necessarily part of this quest or whatever, because she isn't part of that group. Like this main group of 8 are the questers. It's like, where did Poppy go after she got back? That is kind of something I think we have to be on the lookout for too, because I know Poppy's kind of in things for herself, sure, but I'm curious to see what she did like afterwards. So I don't know. That's something I guess, like I said, maybe we'll kind of get to next episode. But nevertheless, really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good